I was playing at the Salvation Army, believe it or not, on Villard Avenue with a couple of other Bavarian guys, not at the time, obviously, but Doug Strong and Billy Orr. And then I was hanging out with Charlie Schultz. Charlie Schultz left Salvation Army to play with Bavarians. I went to one of their, like, in the juniors, like a friendly game, and they didn't have enough players, and Charlie told Richie Schweiner that I played. He asked me to play, and they asked me to sign, and it was a no-brainer. When the first full season was the fall of '74. You know, I played quite a few tournaments as, you know, from the juniors, like at 18, 19, whatever. They could bring us to the Schwaben tournament and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I officially came up let's say the fall of '74.
I believe I was 8 years old, and we were formerly with the Brewers Soccer Club, my family, which obviously my family came over from Germany. So it was about 1963 I came to the Bavarians. And then I played for Gebhard Windbill. Yeah, John played in the field at that time when he was younger. And actually, you know, back in the day, it was you had midgets, intermediates, and juniors. You didn't have specific age groups like you have now. So basically, John and I played on the same team when we were younger, and we're 6 years apart. I don't have any background on how we got to the Bavarians. I just know one day I was there training and introduced to Gebhard Windbill, and probably one of the best coaches that ever taught me the game. He surely taught me a lot about the game, about discipline, and making sure technically I was very proficient. And then I got to play with a lot of the older players as well. I was a soccer rat when I was younger, and I think I lived more at the Bavarians than I lived at home. My dad would always be there. Obviously, he would be volunteering, doing things. And when we didn't train, I always watched the major teams play. And I think one of the great memories I had is, you know, I'd go shag balls for them, you know, stand behind the goal and they'd shoot, I'd go shag balls for them. And every once in a while, you know, some of the old timers, Richie, Willie, your dad, hey, you want to play along? We're shorthanded. So I got to play along. And I think I think I was 17 when your dad brought me up to play a few games with the major team.
I grew up on the east side of Milwaukee in the 1960s. We hung out, I have an older brother, Gary Ward. We hung out at the Milwaukee Boys Club on Franklin Place, and we used to go there on Saturdays. And every Saturday, they had soccer there. And my brother played soccer before I did, and I went to watch him play at the Boys Club, and all the different teams, Polonia, Bavarian, they had a tournament there. And so Gebhard Windbill, who was the Bavarian coach at that time, asked me if I wanted to join the Bavarian Soccer Club. And I said yes. And of course, it wasn't long after that of course, me being on the east side, we moved to the north side of Milwaukee. And he would pick me up every practice and game, take us to the boys club for the games, and he became a big part of my life. And he kind of took me under his wings when I was younger. I was at that time, I was like 10 years old. I started playing soccer when I was like 9 or 10, and through Gebhard Windbill, and I stayed with Bavarians ever since. 1972, I just graduated from high school, and it was me and Bob Spielman who went up to the first team. Yes, there we played at Custer High School. Richard Williams was the coach at that time. Was recognized at that time when we played in 70, 71, and 72. It was only as a club sport, but yes, Mark Hagan played on the team. There was Charlie Schultz, also who played for Custer, that actually played with the Bavarians also. There was a lot of guys that actually all played soccer. Dougie, I want to say Doug Strong, but no, it wasn't. It was Steve Hagan and yeah, a bunch of players that also played Bavarians.
Well, I started my junior soccer career with the Milwaukee Kickers. And obviously, I mean, it was nice playing for the Kickers, but I think that anybody who played soccer as you're going through the junior ranks, everybody would have loved to have played for the Bavarians. Obviously, they had the nicest facilities, they had the best players, the great coaching, the whole 9 yards. But anyways, I recall that the Kickers played the Bavarians in a junior game, and we lost to the Bavarians 5-3. And I remember scoring the goals in that game. And after the game, one of the players on the Bavarians team, Joe Peschel's son, Jeff Peschel, played for the junior team. But Joe came up to me afterwards and asked me if I'd be interested in playing for the Bavarian junior team. And of course, I looked into it. I don't know how it all came to a head, but that was the beginning of my career with the Bavarians. And so, I mean, playing with all the great players that are on the team, from Bobby and Glenn, and on and on. It was the beginning of a great relationship. Obviously, ended up meeting your father, and things just took off from there. Let's see, I must have been 16 years old. So do the math. 1969, somewhere in there. Richie Schweinert helped coach the junior team, and he was getting close to the end of his career. And he graciously, I mean, the class act that Richie Schweinert was, he kind of stepped aside and I think talked to Bobby and said, well, I think Jerry might, be the guy that's going to replace me someday. And Richie tutored me, coached me, whatever. But I always appreciated that. But Glenn and Bobby, as soon as they turned 18, Bobby snatched them up off the junior team, and they started playing for the first team right away. And eventually, I was able to join them. So I don't know if I was 19 yet, but I think it was shortly after I turned 18 also that I started playing for the first team. Okay. 18, 19, somewhere in there. I think that I was a very lucky person, that I was in the right place at the right time. I was fast. I wasn't one of the younger, some of my teammates grew up with us playing with a soccer ball. I didn't touch a soccer ball till I was in like eighth grade. But I was fast. And obviously when you're fast and you've got good players around you, you can accentuate that gift that I had just to be able to run. I had guys that just, all I did was put the ball in front of me and I just ran onto it and was able to, once in a while, get lucky and score a goal.
I played with them when they came to Germany 1970. And they had some games like in on the west side of Germany, like Bochum and Bottrop, I believe. And then the whole team came. They played in Uelzen and Oldenburg. And my brother Richard picked me up, and I went with him, and I got to actually play with him then already. That's how I got to know Wally and Tony Kreidel and your dad and Bruno. That's when I met all those guys. Yes, I joined the team at the Schwaben tournament the year before. I went back to Germany when I was 2, and I came back in actually March 1st of 76. So I was a new guy on the team. Actually, he was, yeah. He was still playing in 75, I believe. Then he was going to retire, and since I played then, he decided to make a comeback. Yeah, he was always in great shape. Richard was here, and he was a soccer player, and I like to play soccer, and he actually started his business, and I went to trade school in Germany and became a tool and die maker, and that's what he was doing. So I came over and joined him in his shop. Yeah, it went pretty quick, I guess. I had my soccer, and I had a job, and that's basically all I needed at that time.
Well, that's many, many years ago. I came to the United States in '52, and we went to South Dakota, Black Hills, so where Mount Rushmore is. And of course, there was no soccer, it's just football. So I was there about for a year and a half, and I didn't touch a soccer ball. Although in Germany, you know, at my age, we didn't have a coach or anything, so we just played on the street, one street against the other one. And that's all my coaching that I had. Before I came to the United States and Germany, I never seen a soccer ball. We only played with tennis balls or bigger balls or something like that, and you never were coached, and here you came and you had a real soccer ball, other leather, so we enjoyed that. In the winter time, I came to Milwaukee and I got to know a guy, George Schinke, who was a member of the Bavarian Soccer Club, who played in the second team, and he got me into the soccer. And so I went and I practiced on 4th and Reservoir. That's all the practice I got. And then playing a little bit, and with my aggressive in soccer, I had a chance to play in the second team, although the club, the Bavarian Soccer Club, didn't have a junior team, none whatsoever. And so I started playing in the second team. And of course, me scoring goals, the first team wanted to have me, but I says the only way I play in the first team when I get some playing time. I mean, I gotta get at least a half a game, and they didn't promise me that. Yeah, I played about a year and a half with the second team, and then in about end of 54, 55, I started playing for the major team. And the big score, we got to be friends, was Al Hospital. Okay. I had to compete against him, who scored the most goals. And then we had players, technical player, Franz Strigens and Willy Wessels. And Heini Malotta, he came from Germany, and he helped us coach a little bit because he had the German background. He was a little bit older, but good on the ball. So we got to be friends, you know. We got together over the weekend with the wives and so on, you know, and our team got stronger and stronger because we were close friends. All we did in the meantime, we talked about soccer, so we coached ourselves. And then we got Bob Gensler and for our defense. and he organized and he became coach, and that's the best coach I ever had. So then we got to be playing clubs here, and we started playing, and we won our championship in 60, 61, all the way to 66. So that 7-year itch, or 7 years in a row, we got to be champions. And of course, no team could catch us because we were friends. And that's what soccer is all about. You got to get to know each other, play to their strengths of the game. So, and then playing on, I got to be playing in a Wisconsin All-Star. And from there, I got selected to play, to try out for the Olympics. And I got to be in the Olympic team. Olympic team itself in 64, we played against 3 countries, Panama, Suriname, and Mexico. First game against Suriname, we lost 1-0. Against Panama, we won 4-2. I scored the first goal and I set up the second goal. And we won 4-2, and against Mexico, we lost 2-1. And I gotta tell you that Bob Gensler at that game was the best player. I mean, we lost 2-1. Without him, I don't know how much we would have lost. It was a good feeling playing in the Olympic team. And then I kept playing, and we went to Germany, and I got to be a defense player because we had young kids going to Germany, and we needed the speed in front. And, you get a little bit older.
My dad came in 1962 to have a flight to Germany. My dad joined the club. And that's how I got. And he came home one time from a meeting, and he asked that Mr. Gepper Winville was looking for players. And my sport was baseball. I love baseball. He says to me, maybe one of these days you can play for the major team. You never know. He says, you want to play? I says, yeah, I'll play. I don't care. As long as it's better than working. That's how I started. I started with the intermediates with Mr. Bulk, and Gepper Winville was my coach. I played when I was 13, 14. We play golf today. I play with Eddie Canwisher, Helmut Bulk. We all see each other at least once or twice a week. I think I was like 17 years old. Coach Gensler brought me up for a tryout in Chicago against the Fichter Rams. I remember I came in. And then I went to a tournament with them to Peoria, Illinois. And I started at right fullback. And within 10 minutes, I was back on the bench. A guy blew by me. And Coach Gensler said, hey, you can't have that. And he put me in next time, and that was it. I started ever since. You can ask Coach Gensler. I never played my position. I played all over the field. I guess I never wanted to get rid of the ball. I guess I like to dribble a lot, so who knows? Things to learn when you're younger. You don't realize that.
I came over from England in July of 1969. And that fall, I actually played for the Brewers. And in the championship game on the Bavarian field against Polonia, it was the only game I played in the major team, by the way. I broke my leg in about the 10th minute of the game, so I couldn't play anymore. So I was in a cast for 16 or so weeks. And then when I got out of the cast, the following summer, I actually played for the Milwaukee Kickers because I had a bit of a falling out with the Brewers over how it was all handled. So we were actually playing on the Bavarian field against the Bavarians in that summer. And I came to realize that they had an Irish guy playing on the Bavarians, Jim Gibson. So afterwards, we stayed in the Bavarian Inn, and we had many drinks with Jim Gibson, and his wife Beatrice, or B as we called her, was there. And we talked well into the night. And it was then that Jim Gibson said to me, "Hey, I'm the soccer coach down at Wisconsin Parkside." Of course, I didn't know anything about college soccer at the time. And I said, "Oh, that's fantastic." And he said to me, "Would you have any interest in playing soccer at university?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I would. But so far, I haven't been able to get into UWM because I most probably wouldn't pass the entrance tests." He said, "Well, let me see if we can get you an exemption to go into Parkside." So anyway, he talked to the dean of students, and the dean of students let me go into Parkside on a probationary period, which was 12 months. And if I showed that I could do the work, then I could stay there. So I went and signed for Parkside. And at the same time, Jim said to me, and of course, Jim had played, as you know, with your dad at the Mustangs. Jim said, "Well, would you be interested in coming and playing with the Bavarians?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I would." So it was over a few weeks there that I had actually agreed to go and play with the Bavarians in what would have been the summer, yeah. And I had also registered to play at Parkside. So I had committed to play for the Bavarians, but I couldn't play for them because college rules at that time was you couldn't play for your club team as well as playing college. So I played at Parkside in the fall of 1970. I had committed to play for the Bavarians in the summer of 1970. And in the summer of 1970, I had also joined the Army Reserves because Vietnam was big at that time. And I was most probably going to get drafted into the Army and sent to Vietnam. So I joined an Army Reserve unit. And in the October, the Army Reserve said, "You need to go and do 6 months basic training in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and Fort Eustis, Virginia." So in the October, I had to drop out of Parkside midway through the season, go in the Army for 6 months, and I didn't get out of the Army until the April. But when I came home for Christmas and a couple of other visits, the indoor season was going on, so I'd go down to the auditorium and watch the team play, chat with people like Al Hospital and that, because I'd committed to play for the team in the summer upon my getting out of the Army. So when I got out of the Army in April, that's when I started playing for the team. So to answer your question, long-winded, it was basically because of Jim Gibson, who we had something in common because he was Irish from Belfast, but he played his professional soccer in England.
Well, I think one of my guys I ran around with, who came actually from the same village, was born in the same village as I was in Hungary, German village. And we moved on to Germany and then to the US. And he found it. He found some people playing soccer because, like any other American boy at that time, had been in the country for about 5 years, I think. And, was playing baseball, was playing basketball, and those things. Kicked a few things around the playground, when they got in the way. But he says, "Hey, they're playing soccer here." So we went over there, but there was no youth ball. I was 15. The other guys were a year or two older, and but the third men's team needed some warm bodies, so they needed a few extra folks. So they signed us up, and probably was the youngest guy in the club, playing men's soccer, and it was fun. Obviously, I had done it in Germany. on the streets and on the playground at school and all of that sort of stuff. No formal uniforms and shoes and all of that sort of stuff. So that's how I got the Bavarians, 15-year-old playing on the men's team. I think I made my debut, looked that up the other day, and it was late '59. I'd graduated from high school, and the first team invited me to go down to St. Louis, play against the Cudas, who had won or were going to win in that decade 5-6 amateur titles in a row. And I remember making my debut against St. Louis in a summer tournament. Yeah, so I was 18 at the time.
I was playing at the Salvation Army, believe it or not, on Villard Avenue with a couple of other Bavarian guys that, not at the time, obviously, but Doug Strong and Billy Orr. And then I was hanging out with Charlie Schultz. Charlie Schultz left Salvation Army to play with Bavarians. I went to one of their, in the juniors, a friendly game, and they didn't have enough players, and Charlie told Richie Schweinert that I played. He asked me to play, and they asked me to sign, and it was a no-brainer. When the first full season was the fall of '74. I played quite a few tournaments as from the juniors, like at 18, 19, whatever. They could bring us to the Schwaben tournament and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I officially came up the fall of '74.
I believe I was 8 years old, and we were formerly with the Brewers Soccer Club, my family, which obviously my family came over from Germany. So it was about 1963 I came to the Bavarians. And then I played for Gebhard Windbill. Yeah, John played in the field at that time when he was younger. And actually, back in the day, it was you had midgets, intermediates, and juniors. You didn't have specific age groups like you have now. So basically, John and I played on the same team when we were younger, and we're 6 years apart. I don't have any background on how we got to the Bavarians. I just know one day I was there training and introduced to Gebhard Windbill, and probably one of the best coaches that ever taught me the game. He surely taught me a lot about the game, about discipline, and making sure technically I was very proficient. And then I got to play with a lot of the older players as well. I was a soccer rat when I was younger, and I think I lived more at the Bavarians than I lived at home. My dad would always be there. Obviously, he would be volunteering, doing things. And when we didn't train, I always watched the major teams play. And I think one of the great memories I had is, I'd go shag balls for them, stand behind the goal and they'd shoot. I'd go shag balls for them. And every once in a while, some of the old timers, Richie, Willie, your dad, hey, you want to play along? We're shorthanded. So I got to play along. And I think I was 17 when your dad brought me up to play.
What made it special? Like I said, yeah, I mean, it was the chemistry. It was like everybody always made me feel comfortable. I mean, I was kind of, there were guys that grew up together and played, their brothers, like Johnny and Bobby. But when I got there, I mean, they accepted me, and being coached by your dad, that was special. But yeah, no, it was a great experience for me. I look back on it probably more than these guys think, because once I stopped playing, I didn't really keep in touch with too many people. But it was a great experience.
Friendship, camaraderie, same thing probably. Good coaching. We always had the best uniforms. We always had best practices. We had entertainment. We had singers on our team that could sing after we learned how to sing German songs. I never knew half the German song until I met Willie, until I got to the majors. We always had a great meal together, and everybody wanted to come to practice. I mean, we have pride in our club, I think, in the blue and white.
Well, I really have to say, first of all, I'd say all my coaches, I had Gepard Winbill, Richie Schweiner, Pete Rosenau. I had, of course, your father, Bob Genser. These guys were my coaches growing up, and then growing up with great coaches. I have to say is the friendship. Now with the players that I learned to grow so close to, even to this day, and I mean they were amazing, and a lot, and the spectators too that went to those games were, because we got to know them. They were like family to us. Especially, my family was different. I spent almost my whole life at the Bavarian soccer club, all my time, and so that became part of my family. And and I have to say that played huge in my life, and just, to this day, those guys, I mean, we still are in contact with, and know it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. There's really not a feeling, but you know that they're there. They're in these men. They're in your heart and in your mind. And because I grew up with them. And it was special, very special. Yeah, the players were special. The family, Bavarian Soccer Club was. And to me, the Bavarian Soccer Club in whole was good to me, was very good to me. They treated me with I have to say, great respect and honor, and they gave me honorary membership at the Bavarian Club, and they were good to me. So I have to say that.
The Bavarians gave me an opportunity to develop a lot of friends and integrate into society. Big part of our transition into life in the USA from England. Without it, I don't know what I would have done. But it gave us community, Tuesday night practice, Thursday night practice, games on a Sunday. And as you know, it was family time on a Sunday. We had young kids. You had young kids in your family. They were all in the same boat, Willie Wessel's kids, Richie's kids, Heinz Hamrick's kids. The list goes on and on. John Spielman. So we were able to create a community through playing football at the Bavarians. And to me, that was just the be-all and end-all of playing football. It was great. We got football results, fantastic, and we got to play. But it was all of the people that you got to know, and I was just blown away by the community of the Bavarians. You had some of the people that started the club. I talk about George Bauer and Joe Moosmiller. I mean, they started the club. They're coming out to games on a Sunday. I mean, all of these people, that was their life. And we just got to play we just got to play and enjoy it, but they gave everything for that club. And that's what impressed me. And I used to love spending time in the clubhouse after the game, whether it was in the Rathkeller or whether it was in the upstairs bar where we were shaking the cowbells there. or in later years when we'd go in and we'd eat the smorgasbord in the restaurant. It was all families there. I mean, we used to wheel our buggy, as we call it here, a pram, as we call it in England. Our two kids would be in our buggy in the bar and in the Rathskeller and in the restaurant in the corner while we were drinking, well, not so much Pam drinking, but me drinking and eating and talking about whatever you talk about on a Sunday night after your soccer game. So that's what it meant to me. It was just fantastic. And
Just the camaraderie, the respect, and then the respect that I had for your dad and the other older players, and respect that the kids had for us, the next Timmy, Tommy, Dickie, the next generation of that. And I think it goes along because you know what? With all due respect, I still coach high school. You ain't getting it now. You ain't going to see that now. It just doesn't happen. Never Tony Kreidel, always Mr. Kreidel, Mrs. Kreidel. But that's the way we were brought up too. To respect your elders. Again, that's not happening nowadays, but I think that has a lot to do with it. And they always treated us great, and I think we did the same when it came to soccer. With all due respect, we won a hell of a lot of trophies for that club, and enjoyed every minute of it. This is really not brought up that much anymore. It's just about the crazy stuff we used to do. And again, some things are a bit fuzzy, but yeah, I can never take that away. We did it the first time in the state ever, and very proud to say that. I want to say the camaraderie. One thing I learned when I was like 16, I started playing there. I played the same position your dad, so I used to watch him play all the time, watch what he did. That's how you learn and play right back for us. I watched, Bruno or somebody else. Just respecting the guys that came before us. And then when Timmy and Tommy and Dinky and all those guys came along, getting the same respect from them. Just one big club of guys that were fighting for the same thing, winning, So, I mean, it speaks for itself how many national championships they've won.
it's the sense of community. Without it, what would we have had? We wouldn't have had. We'd have had something, but it wouldn't have been as special as what it was with the Bavarians.
That's a nice thing too about that club, is just that the spectators, the people who belong to that club were such great supporters. Everything we did there was a core group that just followed us. They'd go on the trips with us, and they supported us all the time, and the whole club supported us. It was nice to be a whole part of that whole thing.
Well, I've been there for a long time, since I was 8 years old. So what is that? 63. So I've had a lot of great coaches. I know Gephardt, like I said, mentioned Gephardt Winbill, Richie Schweiner, Willie Wessels, Rosenau, Wolf Rosenau was a coach at one time. Your dad. So not only did I have good coaches, but also, you had great mentors as well. I mean, some of the people that were there, Heinz Hummerich, Gunter Berra, Al Haspel, those are just to name a few. I mean, we had a chance to watch. I had an opportunity to watch those players play and learn from back when I grew up. There wasn't professional soccer. I mean, we were lucky to watch German soccer once a week on a Monday night. So I got to watch Jerry Aberhagel, your dad, Richie Schweiner, Willie Wessels, Punky Dorn, Joe Bourne, all those guys. I got to watch those guys play. I recall watching Bayern Munich come and play in the Bavarian major team on the old Bavarian field. It's Borussia Dortmund. I got to see, Gerd Muller when he was a rookie coming onto the field. It's just some awesome memories from me growing up there. And people just taking care of you, like Tony Kreidel, the president of the Bavarian Soccer Club. They really cared about the players and your development. And like I said, I owe a lot to Gephardt Winbill. I mean, you know, he would, I don't know how he would do on this day and age as a coach, but back then, I mean, if he didn't yell at you, he didn't love you, you know. And he made me a better player by making sure I did the things in the game of soccer and do them right. Not, you know, first you create your habits, and your habits make you as a player, you know. And my habits as a player were good, and that's because of Gephardt Winbill. So, you know, I was blessed to have good coaches. I was blessed to be part of a club that cared about players and the development of players, and I think that continues to this day's age. Yeah, yep, they were there. I mean, that was their second home as well. I mean, you know, they wanted to keep the tradition, if it was at Oktoberfest or German Fest or working behind the concession stands or helping with this or cutting the grass or helping with this. I mean, they were there. They did a lot, you know. Obviously, you know, we weren't rich people, but they were hard workers and, you know, contributed in that regard. Growing up with the Bavarians, I think one of the things that really stands out is the training sessions, you know, where we were all friends, but in training, we made each other better by just knocking each other, you know, just getting after it, you know, so it made games easier.
I remember looking up, you know, your dad and Heinz and all these other guys that were playing before us. You know, I had the opportunity to be coached by Willie and Richie, and before your dad. I mean, how much better does it get than that?
Mhm.
So the transition is pretty simple. And I expected when I came up to play right away without sounding, you know, blah, blah, blah. And apparently your dad did too, because he played me all the time. And best times ever, dude. Best times ever.
Well, we had a clubhouse. After practice, after game, we went to the clubhouse. We didn't go right away home. We talked about the game. We talked about the next game. And we talked about life. If you don't have a club, you know, that you can be after the game, you forget about the game and you do something else. And I kind of felt, you know, that was our strong point. I got Herbie, my brother, you know, who was a real good player for the Bavarian Soccer Club and for Germany. Now, he had coaching in Germany, and he had good technique. He had a shot. They called him in German the bomber. That means the hard shooter. And he played with our team. He played even against Germany national team that one game. Okay. And he was tremendous. And after Herbie, my son Peter, he played for the Bavarian Soccer Club. He was brought up in the youth. I started coaching him when he was about 6, 7 years old. Okay, and then he played for the Wave. So, and right now he has 2 boys, twins. They played for the Bavarian Soccer Club. You know, they went right through the club. And now they're in college and playing in college. And then my daughter, Suzanne, she has a boy, and he went and played for the Bavarian. So I got them all through the club. Whatever they do now, it's up to them. They all enjoy the game, and we all love. And my wife, Flora, she's a member, honorable member of the club, because she did a lot of work. So, I mean, we really were for this Bavarian Soccer Club, and we loved it.
Well, every team I played on, the camaraderie was special. All the years I played, and I played a long time, maybe too long.
It was the right place for me at the time that I needed a place like that. And I told you, I was 15 years old. I started there in the summer of '56. I was going into my sophomore year at Marquette High, right? And I played there with men who insisted that I speak German, right? I spoke German at home, but our dialect is a little different, right? But also just the adjustment and it was a social club, right? It was a place that we enjoyed ourselves off the field as well as on the field, maybe even more so, because Tuesday, Thursday, quite often fish fry on Friday, a game on Sunday. That's a lot of time that I spent with people at the Bavarian Soccer Club, right? And they helped me to grow, and pointed out to me when I screwed up and kicked my butt and gave me praise. And I was 15 years old playing with men, and continued there for, I think I played my last game at Bavarian Soccer Club in the Old Timers in '99. That's a few years, and it changed with time, but obviously what I needed was different, right? And so it was the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.